Hey fellow Nevillers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sarah, otherwise known as Neville O'Clock. I'm glad you're here. We're working our way through Your Faith is Your Fortune, Chapter 11, Christmas. Yesterday's video, part 1 about Christmas, was for us to get the realization that all things are possible to God, which is you and me. So let's continue. In part 2, this video, Neville talks about the dates and the animals in the manger with Jesus. It's one of the most beautiful stories in the Bible. So let's see how it really affects our life the Neville way. Let's dive in, my lovelies. So to continue, he says the outstanding dramatic dates of the New Testament, namely the birth, death and resurrection of Jesus, were timed and dated to coincide with certain astronomical phenomena. Now we know where the dates come from. The mystics who recorded this story noticed that at certain seasons of the year, were beneficial changes on Earth coincided with astronomical changes above. In writing this psychological drama, they have personified the story of the soul as the biography of man. Using these cosmic changes, they have marked the birth and resurrection of Jesus to convey that the same beneficial changes take place psychologically in the consciousness of man as he follows the law, of course, because consciousness is the only reality. Neville shares a little more. Even to those who fail to understand it, the story of Christmas is one of the most beautiful stories ever told. When unfolded in the light of its mystic symbology, it is revealed as the true birth of every manifestation in the world. In the birth of an idea, the death of your old state of consciousness, and the resurrection of the new. The new. So this virgin birth is recorded to have taken place on December the 25th, or as certain secret societies celebrate it, on Christmas Eve at midnight of December the 24th. Mystics established this date to mark the birth of Jesus, because it was in keeping with the great earthly benefits of this astronomical change signifies. The astronomical observations which prompted the authors of this drama to use these dates were all made in the northern hemisphere. So, from an astronomical point of view, the reverse would be true if seen from the southern latitudes. However, this story was recorded in the north and therefore was based on northern observation. He gives us a little more here. Man very early discovered that the sun played a most important part in his life, that without the sun, physical life as he knew it could not be true. So these most important dates in the story of the life of Jesus are based upon the position of the sun as seen from the earth in the northern latitudes. Thank you, Neville. Now we know. After the sun reaches its highest point in the heavens in June, which is our solstice, I think, it gradually falls southward, taking with it the life of the plant world, so that by December, almost all of nature has been stilled. Should the sun continue to fall southward, all nature would be stilled unto death. And that's totally true, isn't it? If we didn't have the sun and it didn't rise, plant life as we know it would not survive. Now, he says, however, on December the 25th, the sun begins its great move northward, bringing with it the promise of salvation and life anew for the world. Each day, as the sun rises higher in the heavens, man gains confidence in being saved from death by cold and starvation, for he knows that as it moves northward and crosses the equator, all nature will rise again, will be resurrected from its long winter sleep. Our day is measured from midnight to midnight, and since the visible day begins in the east and ends in the west, the ancients said the day was born of that constellation which occupied the eastern horizon at midnight. On Christmas Eve or midnight of December the 24th, the constellation Virgo is rising on the eastern horizon. It is recorded that this Son and Saviour of the world was born of a virgin. It is also recorded that this Virgin Mother was travelling through the night, that she stopped at an inn and was given the only available room among the animals, and there in a manger where the animals fed the shepherds, found the Holy Child. Now Neville gives us a wonderful explanation of the animals that were found in the manger. He says the animals with whom the Holy Virgin was lodged are the holy animals of the zodiac. They are in that constantly moving circle of astronomical animals stands the Holy Mother, Virgo. And there you will see her every midnight of December the 24th, standing on the eastern horizon as the Son and Saviour of the world starts his journey northward. I can't say I've ever looked in the centre and understood that it's Virgo standing in the centre of all the zodiac animals. Thank you, Neville. Psychologically, this birth takes place in man, and on that day, when man discovers his consciousness to be the Son and Saviour of his world, when man knows the significance of this mystical statement, I am the light of the world, he will realise that his I am, or consciousness, is the sun of his life, which sun radiates images upon the screen of space. I spent many weeks, I was being called, or maybe we could say compelled, to say I am the light. So, these images are in the likeness of that which he, as man, is conscious of being. Thus, qualities and attributes which appear to move upon the screen of his world, i.e. out here in 3D, are really projections of this light from within himself. Now we know where all these circumstances and conditions come from, my lovelies. As if we didn't know already, it's up here. So they're projected onto the screen of space, which is out here, that we call 3D. The numberless unrealised hopes and ambitions of man are the seeds which are buried within the consciousness or virgin womb of man. note how Neville talks about the seeds, i.e. seeds in the ground. They're kind of buried for winter, aren't they? The sun comes up, warms up the ground, and then they sprout, like our wishes, dreams, and ambitions. He says, there they remain like the seeds of earth, held in a frozen waste of winter, waiting for the sun to move northward, or for man to return to the knowledge of who he is, i.e. the sun moves over the ground, fauna warms them up and they sprout. And when we give attention to our desires, we manifest them, because the sun, which is our consciousness, shines a light on them. In returning, he moves northward through recognition of his true self by claiming, I am the light of the world. When man discovers his consciousness, or I am to be God, the saviour of his world, he will be as the sun in its northern passage. All hidden urges and ambitions will then be warmed and stimulated into birth by this knowledge of his true self. He will claim that he is that which heretofore he hoped to be. Without the aid of any man, he will define himself as that which he desires to express. He will discover that his I am is the Virgin conceiving without the aid of man, that all conceptions of himself, when felt and fixed within consciousness, will be embodied easily as living realities in his world. Doesn't Neville make it sound simple? And it is, my lovelies. Just fill your consciousness with your dreams, hopes and ambitions. He says a little more. Man will one day realise that this whole drama takes place in his consciousness, that his unconditioned consciousness, or I am, is the Virgin Mary, desiring to express. That through this law of self-expression, he defines himself as that which he desires to express, and that without the help or cooperation of another, he will express that which he has consciously claimed and defined himself as being. And Neville always tells us that you don't need anybody else's help. Once it's fixed in your consciousness, these people out here, they move to help you fulfill your ambition. He says he will then understand why Christmas is fixed on December the 25th, while Easter is a movable date. Why, upon the Virgin conception, the whole of Christendom rests, that his consciousness is the virgin womb, or bride of the Lord, receiving impressions as self-impregnations, and then without assistance, embodying these impressions as expressions of his life. That's the end of the chapter, my lovelies. So Neville's given us a fabulous description of the birth, the death and the resurrection, the stories in the Bible about Jesus's marvellous life, and Christmas, how it was written from the northern hemisphere, and how they viewed the planets and the signs of the zodiac. So, thank you, Neville. Appreciate it. Tomorrow we'll move on to the next chapter. Please hit like, leave a comment, and I will see you next time. Big fat kiss, because we're all about love up here. Bye, guys.